So you might be mistaken and think I'm filming today's video purely because of the bicep pump that I've got. I have just trained arms and shoulders. But more importantly, the reason for today's video is post-contest blues. Understand that 2, 3, 4 weeks from a contest, if you look at yourself in the mirror and think this, that's normal, right? It's not normal. It's not healthy, but it is common. Let me explain. It's 3 weeks since I competed at the NABA Britain Finals, and I am up about 30 pounds. My weight seems to have stabilised at around 225. The morning of the show, I weighed 195.8 pounds. I've been hovering at around this weight for a couple of days now. And why is that? I've been eating like an asshole. That's the answer that you might think of, but let's dig in a little deeper. I did my first bodybuilding contest way back in 2012. The binges that I went on during those first couple of shows was insane. I literally undid 12, 14, 16 weeks worth of a body transformation in the space of 2 to 2.5 weeks. I binged so much. I ate so much junk food. What I've learned over the years and what I've got more used to doing is those cravings after your first diet so strictly have massively subsided for me. So fast forward to now, I am up a ton of weight, but I'm not really concerned. That's because I have purposely ate more food. I'm not bothered with a reverse diet or a slow diet or anything like that because I've tried those in the past. 1, I've never been able to stick to it. 2, I don't really think it's the best option. 3, I've never rebounded successfully before, so I wanted to give that a go. And boy, the rebound has worked very nicely this time. I would probably say I could have maybe tapered the calories back a little bit around 5 days ago. I'm probably smoothing out a little bit too much this time. But all in all, even though I'm up 30 pounds, I am not worried whatsoever. And I want you to take away from this video, 1, don't get yourself into a guilt trip, start trying to correct the binges that you've had because that will make things worse, and I'll discuss that very shortly. Or 2, use this weight gain and use this period to be able to eat more, to be able to rebound and put some muscle on. And don't be worried about the weight gain that you are putting on. So I mentioned post-show blues at the start of this video. What are the post-show blues? That is when you have prepped 12, 14, 16 plus weeks for a bodybuilding show. In that last month, that last 6 weeks, your entire life is consumed by bodybuilding prep. Whether you're an amateur, which is what I am, I'm not a pro, I'm never going to be a pro bodybuilder. And that's probably why listening to someone like me will be able to help you get rid of some of that guilt or help you realise kind of what normal people go through. Because amateur bodybuilders, people who bodybuild as a hobby, is completely different to pro bodybuilders who have crazy genetics, who make a living doing this kind of thing, whose job it is literally to eat, train, sleep, flex, get ready and go on stage. That ain't me. That probably ain't you watching. So from an amateur bodybuilder, someone who competes as a hobby, when you get down to that last 4, 6 weeks, at least for me, my entire thought process, my entire mental energy is taken up by the bodybuilding show. So when so much of your time, energy, effort in your routine is going into prepping for this one day, then that one day is over and done with. Whether you place, whether you win, whether you don't place, when that show's done, that focus that you've got is gone. And you kind of feel like, okay, what's next? What is my purpose now? Without that solid physique kind of purpose, it's very easy to just think, I can eat this, I can eat what I want now, I'm not prepping, I'll just do whatever I want. And you quickly fall into that trap of literally eating what you want, in whatever quantities you want, overeating, and piling on a ton of weight. Those post-show blues are compounded by binging one day, waking up the next day, or that night kind of regretting what you've done. The next day you wake up, you do some cardio, you spend extra time in the gym. Maybe you jump back on some of the supplements you were using, getting ready for a show, thinking, I'm going to, reverse some of that damage. You'll drop your calories the next day, thinking, okay, I had a crazy day yesterday, I'm going to go low carb tomorrow. Your first 2, 3 meals, you stick to it, no problem. It gets late afternoon or evening, those cravings start kicking in again. because you're so hungry and tired from eating not much on the morning, you've done extra cardio, extra time in the gym, it's easy to just give in to that craving again, and then 2 days becomes 3 days, becomes 4 days, and before you know it, you have ate like an arsehole for 2, 3, 4 weeks and completely undone everything that you've done. But know that you're not alone, and so many people do this. I have done this in shows that I've competed at previously, and even over these past 3 weeks, don't get me wrong, I have had days where I have ate like an arsehole, but I have had days where my diet is on point, to the point where it's like I'm prepping again. And I don't mean that as in low calories cutting. I mean, I've got my macros, I'm set out, I have all the same meals, all my meals are perfect. And then I'll have a little bit of shit and some junk food on top of those meals, which has caused an extra little bit of fat gain, that extra little bit of bloat, that extra little bit of water retention. What can you do to stop these post-show blues? Number one, is just realise that you're not going through this alone, and it's common. Number two, don't try and reverse the damage you've done the following day after a binge, because you are setting yourself up to binge again and again and again, and you are quickly going to kind of go down that rabbit hole and just make things worse for yourself. What I would recommend is, if you have that binge or that cheat, don't even call it a cheat. Don't feel the guilt from eating, some junk foods. Just the next day, get back on with whatever your plan is. More importantly, if you don't have a plan for your off season, make a plan. Calculate your macros. Start upping your food. Don't continue trying to cut. Don't try and continue eating low carbs or low calories, because that's just going to make those cravings worse. What I would do post-show, and this is me experience of competing for 10 years, the best I have felt post-show is right now. The best gains I've probably ever made. At the minute, I feel huge. I feel big. I feel strong. I have smoothed out a lot, and I expected that, because being on stage is not a look that you can maintain. But I have set myself this time an off-season plan, which I've probably... This is the most serious I've been with an off-season plan probably since I ever started competing. What I have done is bump my calories up pretty high, introduced a lot of fat back into the diet, and set my carbs at 400 grams a day. Protein has gone up ever so slightly from 220 up to 250 it is now, but that's been a gradual increase because of the weight that I've put on. I kept my protein at 220 following the show. I've slowly upped that, but I put my carbs immediately back to 400. In the fats, I started putting red meat, more egg yolks back into my diet. So my fats probably went from minimal, where I wasn't tracking, to probably 60 to 70 grams a day. You're going to feed your body. You're going to get a good rebound effect. And because you're eating a lot more, chances are you're going to be more full. Chances are you then won't want to binge as much. If you have a craving and you want something, eat it, get out your system, or factor it in if you need to your macros for the day. Eat it, and then the next day just move on. The other thing that has kept me on track, not just competing, but even between shows when I wasn't competing, obviously I wrestle. Most weekends I'm wrestling in a pair of trunks with my top off. So having that goal and having that regular kind of activity makes me think, and has changed my mindset to, rather than just being in shape for a show, I want to be in some shape all year round. But also set yourself another goal, whether you're going on holiday and you want to look good for something, whether you just want to maintain a certain kind of look. Find a goal, set yourself another goal to replace the focus you've had on that bodybuilding show, and to keep you motivated in the gym. If you're motivated and you're goal driven, you will probably be less inclined to want to cheat on your diet, less inclined to overeat on a regular basis, less inclined to fill your diet with junk foods. But on the same note, don't rob yourself and don't restrict yourself from enjoying foods that you want. Don't restrict yourself if you are having cravings. Just don't be an arsehole. If you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments below. If there's anything specific you want to see in the next video, you know where to put them. But until next time, Shreddy's feeling very jacked. Remember, this ain't no gimmick, it's a lifestyle.